Why are so many people overwhelmed with clutter? Disorganization is causing shame, suffering, friendships, time, money. People just like you wondering where and how to create an organized lifestyle. This podcast offers expert tips and solutions for your clutter obstacles. My name is Rachel Seavey, and this is the Hoardganize podcast. Hey, collectors. Welcome to the Hoardganize podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Seavey, and I have the pleasure of having Lauren Williams on the show. Lauren is the owner of Casual Uncluttering, and she's based out of Washington. And I think you guys are really going to love her style. I definitely do. And so, our first podcast together is going to be about the three barriers that keep you from decluttering. But first, I'd like you to learn a little bit more about Lauren. So, Lauren, tell us about yourself. How long have you been organizing, and what are your passions?
I'm coming on to 15 years in this work. I came about it through a really roundabout path of moving a lot for my partner's career, being a mom at an older age and stay-at-home mom, and then having to reinvent myself because of the barriers to getting back into a regular job, a 9 to 5 job for that. Um, my passions around this work are helping people get peace of mind in their environments and getting control again over their environments and getting confidence in their skills around keeping themselves uncluttered, keeping themselves structured in their environments. And there's nothing more satisfying than that, than giving someone back their lives in that way.
Yeah, it's really neat to be able to help people that struggle because I feel like you help the same kind of level of clients that I do. You get a lot of neurodivergent clients,
Yes.
people that struggle from decision fatigue. So there's um, we get an interesting group of people that we've really kind of catered to in our profession.
Yes.
So, yeah, so I think a lot of the listeners are going to be a lot like your personal clients, like they are mine. Um, and so I feel like there are a lot of common barriers that stop people from even just starting, not even just decluttering, but just even thinking about it. In your professional opinion, what are some of those?
There's the shame around it, the humiliation around it, the not letting yourself admit to being human. One of the things I say to a fair number of my clients is, if I were experiencing any one of the challenges that you're telling me about, and you're telling me about, a death in the family, you're telling me about illness, you're telling me about blah, 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 I would be in my bed, covers over my head, sucking my thumb, refusing to get out of bed for days and days and days on time. But my clients at least think that they're supposed to just pick themselves up, get themselves off to the living room or the bedroom or whatever is their challenge, and get going. And that's not true. Everybody could need some help, and everybody could need some more help.
Yeah. And the shame is, do you feel like it's some of it's because they've been able to do it before, when they were younger or healthier? Or maybe they've never been able to do it before and everyone around them. And then you have these television shows or just anything where the background's just completely perfect and not realistic and nobody lives in that house. And um, there's a lot of shame and some of it isn't even accurate because what they're seeing on TV and what they think people's homes are like really aren't what people's homes are like,
Hmm. It's
you know?
any of that, all of that in some combination. Um, Certainly, yes, neurodiverse people
Yeah.
are vulnerable to being picked on, is the simplest way to put it. That they heard these horrible messages of, you're lazy, you're crazy, you're stupid. The book that lays it out says it all, that title. Or they, yes, could do it, whatever it is, when they were younger and their stresses were less extreme. I mean, you know as well as I do that many neurodiverse people find coping mechanisms to a certain level of stress and are successful at that level of stress, maybe like graduating through high school, but then they get to college, and that's a whole another level of challenge and um, responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. And now their coping mechanisms and their strategies aren't quite as well adapted, and they start to fail. And maybe they rise to those new challenges and find new ways of adapting and achieving. But then they graduate college and now they've got their first real job, and eventually the systems start to crumble, sometimes at least.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's interesting that I find that at least maybe the younger generation that I deal with that's neurodivergent is well, they're probably, more recently diagnosed than some of our
Yep.
older clients. And so they're a little bit more aware when they call me, they say immediately, like, I am autistic, I have
Yep.
ADHD, like, I really struggle. And that's super cool to me that people can automatically just tell me that because it just really helps so much as an organizer, as you know. But then you have older people that, and still high functioning. I mean, they've worked their whole lives, but they haven't had any sort of diagnosis or help or insight on why they have some different learning styles. And I find that encouraging people to just, go see a therapist or a doctor or someone that can diagnose anything that they might have questions about is helpful. I mean, I know like a 90-year-old woman that got diagnosed with ADHD, and she was so happy just to know why her whole life she had struggled with so many different things. Um, but it was helpful. Some people really need a diagnosis and to understand
Mhm.
why their brain isn't working. Um,
And, and worse yet, the older someone is who might benefit from that kind of diagnosis, unfortunately, the older that person is, also, I find at least, where they've been getting a culturally prevalent message of mental illness is a moral thing. Mental illness is not a brain-based condition. It's your personal character. It's your failing. And so my older clients are undeniably, fiercely the most resistant to any suggestion of, it could just be that your brain works different.
yes.
Really makes it hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, there are definitely some people I would never have that conversation with. But
I always have that conversation anyway. I just expect to get this instant stone face and this instant, but
yeah.
I persist sometimes if I think it's really going to help the
Yeah, if
client.
it's really going to help people understand why things are happening, and then you just kind of have an aha moment once you read the science. It's like, read this book. I'm not making it up. I'm not just pulling this out of a hat. Do some research about, adult ADHD or whatever. And then they're like, oh my gosh, that was so helpful. Like, maybe I do. It's like, well, just go check it out. I don't know. I think anybody of all ages. So we've got shame, um, having people over.
Hmm.
That's huge. I mean,
Hmm.
not don't even let the mailman peek in.
Hmm.
Windows have never been open. Yeah.
Flipping that on its head, though, for me at least, that's often one of the things I most try to help my clients reclaim. If they have any wistfulness, any desire to have people over again, whether it's friends, family, clients, colleagues, you name it, I will do everything in my power to make that as concrete an ambition for them as is humanly possible. Because again, I'm sure you know with your clients, I'm sure your clients know that the more they can give themselves these positive affirmations, the more they can give themselves ambitions and goals that they can very measurably reach for, the more successful they often are.
Oh yeah. I love when people want to have family over, Thanksgiving's coming up, maybe just someone they haven't seen in a while, a good friend. Yeah, any that's kind of a good motivational technique too, is you invite somebody over,
Mhm.
because that kind of encourages you to straighten up. But it also, could cause a lot of stress.
Yes.
So, and the overwhelm, which was the next
Yes.
thing that you talked about, because I feel like people don't know where to start.
Yep. But that's what we as organizers give them. We give them those tools. I'm sure you use some version of the sorting grid, for example. And we teach them that sense of timing where we can. We teach them that sense of pacing where we can. I talk about the archaeology grid all the time. I teach my clients just to move in a linear pattern. I teach my clients to keep a roll of painter's tape on hand because you can slap a piece of painter's tape down where you left off, date it, make a little note. I need to start here again. And you're off and running with that marker right in front of you, that map. It's all about breaking the work down to its smallest possible increment so that it's not so overwhelming.
Yeah. Do you have, I'll ask you for a link for information on the sorting grid, if that's okay.
Yeah, I pass
That's
that
something
out
I can.
with I'm
Okay,
happy.
good. Is that something I can share? I'll paste it into our video and then I'll
Yeah, I
or
can send you a copy of it.
okay. I don't know if it's an ICD thing or if it's something that you did.
No, no, I have my version of it.
Oh, good.
I don't
Yeah.
have it available up on the website as a thing, but I'm willing to give it to you for your clients,
Oh,
your
perfect. For
audience.
the listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So they know what we're talking about. That would be really cool. Breaking things down, that's exactly what I do. So it's not overwhelming. Painter's tape is amazing. A hula hoop, just something. Sometimes I'll even cover a bunch of clutter with a blanket or a
Hmm.
sheet, so
Hmm.
that people can really see what they're focusing on.
Hmm.
And say, and we don't have to do the whole table. Let's just do a
Hmm.
corner of the table. And so they can really see that corner of the table and what they're working on and what the project is. And it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have to do the whole house or the whole kitchen today. It's like, no,
Hmm.
let's do the corner of the table, see how that feels. Um,
Or, or the treasure hunt. You switch it up by having people go on a treasure hunt for only one kind of thing, Judith Kohlberg's
oh
technique.
gosh, no, please share this.
Oh my
I
God.
love her. I mean, I please.
Straight out of conquering chronic disorganization.
Oh my gosh.
Rather than having someone, do the room or the cabinet or whatever the heck it would be, we're only going to find the books today, or we're only going to find the knickknacks today, or only going to find the photos of your Uncle Ted today.
Oh, I
So
love
it's another
that.
way of narrowing down the focus.
Yep.
And you can do that even only, yes, on one shelf of one bookcase. But for some people, that's even more fun.
Oh, that's way more fun. And I feel like it's so much easier for the brain to process just that one category
Hmm.
anyway. So I guess I do that quite a bit with people without knowing that it was a treasure hunt, but that's a great way to call it. And that's a fun thing to do with books and things that are really obvious and you feel like, yay, I found one.
And
Um,
sometimes you have to. I mean, depending on what your client has accumulated for whatever reasons. Once had to start on books because there were perhaps 5,000 of them in a space that fit 3,000.
Books are a thing. I love books.
Me
It's so hard.
too.
I get it.
Me
I get
too.
it. I get it.
And I will even confess that the one time I've purged something that I did regret was I purged cookbooks to make space for another kind of book. And that was several years ago. And that's the one thing I have as a person regretted was a purge of cookbooks.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I use cookbooks. It's funny, I don't usually I get overwhelmed if I go on the internet just looking for a chicken recipe. Like I have certain ones I like to look for. So yeah, no. I am proud to say I just purged 4 books. I'm looking at my ongoing donation box because I'm never going to read them and they were freebies at conferences. And I was like, "What? Why are these even here?" Um but yeah, so books are a thing, even for professional organizers. And I think people love hearing that. They're like, you have books?
You can kind of see behind me a bookcase.
Yeah.
That's a 6 shelf unit. That's almost entirely my organizing books.
Oh,
I collect,
just the organizing books.
I
Oh my
collect, I
gosh,
even
you're
collect
good.
vintage ones. I even collect
Oh, you're
vintage
so cute. I
ones.
wonder what you collect vintage ones. Okay, I'll have to look through. I have mine up here, my organizing, but I'd say it's probably about 10. I go through them, but a lot I give out, ones that I think would help people, I just give
Hmm.
to people and forget to get them again. Um, but okay, so shame, overwhelm, and then having neurodivergent, um, just different ADHD. And sometimes we work with people that have Parkinson's or,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know, and
Parkinson's, traumatic brain injury,
oh
you
yeah,
name it.
yeah. And so meeting people where they're at is really a good place. But even when it's you yourself, I would say if you're in that situation, definitely asking for help, professional help is a huge step. Um, I know that it's expensive though to have us come help.
Hmm.
Um, and
Hmm.
so there's a lot of resources out there for organizing and I just what I find difficult, Lauren, is when someone's got ADHD, I don't want to give them like a book and a workbook about ADHD because I know they're never gonna do it. And so I would say asking for professional help. Are there any podcasts that you know that are a free resource for someone that's looking for?
Well, there's everybody from Danny Donovan, who's big on YouTube, I believe, to David Charbonneau, and don't ask me how to spell that. I would not be able to tell you. Um, oh, there's the Holderness family. They're awesome. They're big YouTubers. Penn Holderness has raging ADHD, and he's very proud of it, very open about it. He was just a keynote speaker for Chad, in fact, at their
Really?
conference. Yes,
Oh.
very funny. The whole family is essentially now a comedic troupe, and he does a lot of teaching around ADHD. He's just published a book around ADHD. I think he and his wife together have now collaborated on one of, you know, uh, one spouse has it, one spouse doesn't. Uh, and yeah, I mean, there's this constellation of resources you can find. There are the books like I will refer to Ned Howell's books as the Holy Trinity, Driven to Distraction, Delivered from Distraction, and Answers to Distraction,
Hmm.
to YouTube, to a lot of the youngest generation do things on Instagram, although I don't do Instagram, so I don't know them exactly.
Hmm. Yeah.
There,
Yeah. No, there are a lot of resources out there for people who are neurodiverse and want to understand how to better organize their lives. That are, yeah. Aside from hiring a professional organizer,
Mhm,
I always just like to
mhm.
have more resources.
And there's Focus Mate for a lot of people because a lot of neurodiverse folk, what's going on is they need that body doubling.
Yes, Focus Mate is great. And I've spoken about it and I'll put the link underneath while we're talking. But Focus Mate is where you basically sign up and you talk for an hour with someone anywhere around the world, or you just each of you are doing a task, right? One might be packing for a trip, another might be cleaning their bathroom. Is that how it is?
Yeah, in fact, as far as I know, although I haven't checked in recently, you're not supposed to talk. It's
Oh,
literally,
thanks.
it's this highly structured, highly respectful space where you first sign in, you and your body doubling partner, and kind of say hello, and this is what I want to get done. And then, maybe halfway through, if you've gotten one of your milestones accomplished for the session, you get to check in again and say, hey, hi, I got it done, or I got part of it done. Then you go off doing your thing again, and you just sign out at the end with a thank you so much. It's actually meant to just be kind of each of you holding the support for each other, each of you being respectful of each other's time and energy and space and focus. So, for example, as far as I know, you're supposed to have your audio muted so nobody can hear
Hmm.
any background chatter or music that you're playing or such. I do know there's a fairly recent refinement where if you happen to somehow really click with somebody, you're allowed to try and favorite them and come back to find them in particular as a partner. But I have clients who are thriving with FocusMate.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's a great resource. Yeah. And it's pretty inexpensive, right?
Far as I know, it's still designed where you can have several meetings a week for free.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you like it, you sign up for a subscription. And the subscription, when it first launched, was only like $5 a month.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's risen now with inflation, but
Oh man, that's a great resource. I love that. I love this. So we've listed the three, not only barriers, but we've got shame, overwhelm, and being neurodiverse. And that's a really good, we've got resources for people on each topic. Do you have anything else you want to say about those three items?
I would like to emphasize neurodiversity in its relationship to hoarding disorder, not implying that any of your listeners or anybody who I'm working with may or may not have that, but that it's increasingly understood by clinicians that there can be some very strong links between ADHD in particular and hoarding disorder. In fact, I was just in conversation with a therapist like 2 weeks ago where she said the latest research indicates that I think it was, okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to get this wrong. It was a very tense, very emotional for me session with a client where it's either 32% of people with ADHD are now recognized to have hoarding disorder or the other way around. But anyway, either direction, that's a huge number. And it's recognized clinically enough these days that there are clinicians, Michael Tompkins being one of them, who are now even, Michael Tompkins is even now giving webinars, ADHD informed treatment of hoarding disorder.
Wow. For civilians and or
Yeah, for organizers, therapists, etc. I sat in on it through Chad of all things. And that's actually, if your clients don't happen to know about Chad, Chad is a fantastic resource.
and
Children
that's
and adults,
CHAAD.
CHADD,
Oh,
children
DD.
and adults with ADHD. It's a support nonprofit, it's an advocacy nonprofit, it's an educational nonprofit, and it is huge. It's wonderful.
Okay, good. No, I'll definitely share that information with everybody and everything that you've covered. You've given so many different resources on here. I love that. Um, And I just want to brag about you a little bit because I love your website. So I would like to, in the future, and I know we're recording and this is a little side quest, but in the future, I would like to cover the classes that you teach, specifically the hoarding for layman class. I would like you to do something with that. I think it's incredible. I'm going to be sending links so that the listeners know what I'm talking about, but um, I think you really have something going there if you want to give just a brief little spiel on it before you go. I'm definitely bringing you back because I want more people to know about it.
Thank you. So, yes, I've developed a 1 hour basic introduction to hoarding disorder designed for professionals who may come into hoarding situations without necessarily understanding what a hoarding situation is, who are not intending to do anything necessarily about that hoarding, not being organizers, but needing to interact with those individuals who are suffering from the illness. So, for example, real estate brokers, attorneys, firemen, even social workers are not
Oh
necessarily
yeah.
trained for it.
Hospice.
Hospice, yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's just a, hey, this is what this is. This is what you need to understand to more successfully interact with these individuals in this environment.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And you come from a compassionate view and you're explaining why. Because a lot of people just don't understand and they think it's behavior, they think people are lazy, and they don't really get it. And so you're explaining to people um how to put those judgments aside basically and treat someone like a human being would be my guess. But it's hard because a lot of the, like we were talking earlier, the television shows or just what you've
Mhm.
heard, it's like, people think it's really serious and maybe you've got character flaws or something about your moral compass is off, and that could be no further from the truth. I mean, I work with the loveliest people.
Mhm.
Some of them can't even get into their home, but these people are nurses, teachers,
Mhm.
they're the most
Mhm.
loving, caring, wonderful individuals. And so just letting people know that it's just a lot deeper than somebody being lazy.
Mhm.
I
It's
think
not
people
somebody
need to
being
know that.
lazy. It's
Hmm.
not. I I can't say I've ever had a client who I truly thought was making a choice to be disorganized or making a choice to compulsively acquire or compulsively keep. Um, in all of my professional career, I can only think of one client who, this is not I'm not sure how to put this, but I've had one client I will admit to, where it felt like she was creating her situation for the attention. One client always, only. Um, all the rest, things have been piling on them, illness, death, other traumas I don't even want to say on the radio, or they've gone and inherited the piles. I once worked with somebody who had like 3 generations of inheritance to try and struggle through. Or yes, severe ADHD, and they don't even mean to keep the stuff. They don't want to keep the stuff, but they put it down and they never see it again because they've got no object permanence, no ability to understand where something is in its physical location from their brains, by their brains. There's so much that contributes to this. Or they weren't taught systems, or they were taught systems that are counterproductive to how they work or even destructive.
Oh yeah.
I have a fair number of people who are clients who are the adult children of people with hoarding disorder, very honestly and openly identify as that.
Yeah. So there's just so many different reasons why people um, are in the situations they're in, and you're sharing this as a class, as a Zoom. I'll give a link, but I want to go further into it on another podcast, so
Okay.
that way we can really promote it because I'd like to.
Okay.
And is there anything else you want to add?
I
I
can
think
talk
we've,
for hours.
I know. I think we've covered a good amount. 3 barriers. We've got some resources there, and I'll be adding them all in the comments. And it was great having you on the show, Lauren. You've been doing this for a long time. I will share your background information, and you're just lovely. So thank
Thank
you for
you.
being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Hoardganize podcast. Please make sure you're subscribed and join our Hoardganize podcast Facebook page and get additional tips and challenges.